Good evening, and calling to order the Keystone Heights City Council meeting Monday, March 1 at 6 p.m. We'd like to start with an invocation. It's being offered this evening by Pastor Rob Ham from Keystone Presbyterian Church, and it'll be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be offered by Air Force E-4 Cindy Lee. And I'm told you're from the graduating class of 1980, City in Keystone Heights. So if you'll join me and stand.
All right, everyone, I'm going to read a very, very short verse and then lead us in prayer. Jeremiah 29:7 says, to pursue the well-being of the city that God has sent us, to pray to the Lord on its behalf, for when the city thrives, you will thrive. Let me pray for us, and then we'll start our meeting. Lord Jesus, as we gather here this evening at City Hall, first we come to you and we just say thank you. Thank you on behalf of all who are gathered here this evening. Lord Jesus, thank you for the abundant blessings that you have given us, for life which comes from you, for the health that we need to fulfill our callings in this place, for the gracious providence and for the friendships that are represented in this room. Thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work, such as this group is about to engage in, and for the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities in this world. Lord, in your word, you have said that citizens are to obey the governing authorities because you have established these very authorities to promote peace and order and justice. And so this evening, Lord, we pray for our mayor. We pray for the various levels of city officials, and in particular for the assembled council here tonight. And Lord, on behalf of Keystone Heights Presbyterian and our whole city, we just pray that you would graciously grant them the wisdom to govern in the midst of conflicting interests in the issues of our time. That you would give this body a sense of welfare for the genuine needs of our people. Lord, that you would give them a thirst and a desire for justice and rightness. That you would give this body confidence in what is good and fitting in accordance with your will. That you would give everyone here tonight the ability to work together in harmony and unity, even in the midst of honest disagreement. That you would give everybody in this room your peace in their lives and joy in tonight's tasks. Lord, we pray for the agenda that is set before this group. Please give them assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work and around in our beloved city in Keystone Heights. We pray all this in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, who is the sovereign King of all that exists, the giver of life, who is the hope of this world. We pray this in his name, and all God's people said, Amen. Love you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lee?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. Ms. Rakowski, would you like to call roll, please?
Mayor Lake.
Here.
Vice Mayor Hart.
Here.
Councilman Brown.
Here.
Councilwoman Kelly.
Here.
Councilman Peoples.
Here.
You have a quorum, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any public comment cards tonight?
I have two, Madam Mayor. First is Mr. Richard Bloodgood.
Mr. Bloodgood?
I'm not a spokesman, but I am talking about some other people who some are here, some are not here. And we are so very grateful to Mayor Karen and Tony and Scott and so many other people, Lynn, and so many other people that have put the effort forward to establish the pickleball court out there at Sunrise. You did a great job. It looks terrific. I hope to get myself out there, and I hope to see all you out there. It's a real fun thing for the community, and I think everybody will enjoy it. The other issue is I've been, fortunately or unfortunately, been here too long. Living on Lake Brooklyn, raising kids, raising family, raising hell, doing all those things that you do on the beach. You know, it's magnificent. I still live on Lake Brooklyn, the big lake. Times have changed because of the water level, and we now have more beach, like it or not like it. And in our area and in a good part of the surrounding area, we have, again, because of more beach, and maybe too because of the school system, we have young kids, pretty young. I'm talking about 14, maybe 15, boys and girls, riding on the beach in their small motorcycles or golf carts or three-wheelers or whatever they call it. And I'm not accusing these kids of anything. These are good kids, but they are unfortunately going too fast. And they are riding at night. And my concern, just like I would be concerned for any other kid out there, is their safety. So I'm coming here to, and this is a subject that you guys have probably already addressed, but I'm coming here to find out if there's any ordinance, not a restricted law that's, the police are going to show up or something, but some kind of ordinance, a guideline, and if there is some, about the speed on the beach and the date and the time that they ride on the beach. And if there is an ordinance, or there could be an ordinance, then maybe have some sign someplace, just to let these kids know, hey, there is some discipline about this beach. Be respectful for it. And so I thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Rakowski, would you touch base with Mr. Bloodgood and give him some appropriate contacts?
Absolutely.
I think the guy in the red shirt right ahead of you, Mr. Bloodgood, has some information on that. I think you were instrumental in having the dawn to dusk curfew essentially for four-wheelers on the lakes. Did you not, sir?
It's been looked at before, and it is a bucket of worms.
Yeah, but I think it's on the books, isn't it, with Clay County?
There is, enforcement would be another issue.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'll
Okay.
follow up with him.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I have one more, Madam Mayor. I have Mr. Scott Cornegay.
Good evening, Council. Scott Cornegay, representing the Lake Region Development Corporation. I wanted to let you know that the corporation has hired a consultant to help us develop a strategic business plan. And we are holding a retreat on Wednesday, March 10th for the Board of Directors in the morning, and would like to use the pavilion as our location for the retreat. I know it's the day before the official opening, but and I know we can't talk about it now during public comment, but I do believe you have a agenda item coming up later on in the agenda where it could be discussed. So that is my ask for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. We're
Madam-
moving.
Madam Mayor, I apologize. Before we move on to presentations, if it's all right and pleases the council, if we can move 9E and F after items 2, we do have our engineer online.
Any objection? No. Okay, seeing no objection, show those agenda items moved up.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
We have two presentations this evening. The first presentation is by Ms. Gilda Kinsley about a memorial plaque for Ms. Joan Jones. Would you like to come to the podium, Ms. Kinsley?
Good evening. My name is Gilda Kinsey, and I want to start by saying thank you to the mayor and the city council for this opportunity to present a request from members of our community for a plaque honoring Joan Jones to be placed in the Keystone Heights Cemetery. It would be for her tireless effort to make the Veterans Memorial Pathway a reality. Quick background: much of her life, Joan endeavored to find ways to show her love and appreciation to the American servicemen and women who saved her homeland, Australia, during World War II. And she worked tirelessly to establish several World War II brides clubs and things like that. During a dream in 2004, Joan determined that the determined World War II Australian war bride had a vision to establish a Veterans Memorial Pathway near the entrance to Keystone Heights, Florida Cemetery, that actually has grave sites of approximately 600, if not more, servicemen and women. She was pleased to fulfill a lifelong dream to repay the American servicemen and women for their sacrifice. With the city's consent and assistance, and the assistance of many individuals, businesses, and organizations in the community, Joan proceeded to design, build, and maintain the Veterans Memorial Pathway that we know today, and has established 3 well-run Veterans Memorial ceremonies each year. In the process, she also personally contributed considerable personal time and money to this endeavor. This request also comes, on a personal note from me. I own property in the cemetery. I have 4 family members in this cemetery who are veterans. My father, my 2 uncles, and recently my husband. I am always so proud to show family and friends what a beautiful and well-kept cemetery we have. The Wreaths Across America program is something my family and I especially appreciate and participate in. And I can't thank Ms. Jones and all the others who had a part in making this memorial pathway a reality. For the plaque that I would like to present is that we are looking at a 16 by 16 bronze plaque to be attached to the center brick wall planter at the top of the circle. I have been in touch with a professional, Jacksonville company who specializes in plaques and trophies. The usual cost for this plaque, this bronze plaque, would be $780.95. But because this company honors veterans, the cost, and actually holds them in very high regard, the cost will be $624.87. Production will take about 2 to 3 weeks, and they will ship it to us. We feel in the community that this is an opportunity for the city to not only honor Joan, but our veterans who made the ultimate sacrifice. With all this being said, I would like to enter a request on behalf of the members of the community for the city to purchase the plaque and place it in the Veterans Memorial Pathway. And I thank you for your time, and I think there are a couple of other people who would like to, if that's acceptable to.
Is it okay? Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Henry, Commissioner.
Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight, and good evening to all. It's terrible if a country has no heroes to honor, but it's even worse when they have heroes and they do not honor them. That's what Joan did. She honored those people. And for that, I'm grateful. I didn't know Joan real well, as many of you did, but I did know her work. So I didn't come as a character reference for her or tell you how great a person she was, but I did come to tell you the good work that she did, and all of you know that. You may have disagreed with her on many things, but the end product was not something you could disagree with. I'm reminded when I think of Joan what Teddy Roosevelt said back in 1903 at the U.S. Capitol. He said, "What a man does for himself goes to the grave with him, but what he does for God, country, and community lives eternal." And when I think of Joan, that kind of comes to my mind because I think that pretty well encapsulates her life. And, obviously our greatest thanks from all of us would be to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and our God. But our next thanks should wholeheartedly go to the American veteran. And I don't have to tell you why, because we probably wouldn't be here tonight. And Joan realized that, just as we do, and she took it personal mission along with help some good people in Keystone and turned this into a real powerhouse of acknowledgement to our veterans. And for that, I'm so thankful that I met her. She about wore me out coming down making speeches, but that was okay. I was good to go. Anything she wanted, I was good to go. And I would wholeheartedly recommend that we do something to honor this great lady because of what she did to honor our great warriors. And I just didn't come with empty hands. Madam, I'll write you a check after tonight's meeting for $200 to go for that plaque. So I'll put my money where my mouth is, and we'll try to make this happen. And I thank you for y'all's time.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And also brought flowers for Joan, not for me, so they're here, I'm going to deliver them. I think Bob Keneally is in the back, and his daughter Tanzan, I think they wanted to say, Bob has also helped with Reach Across America, and I think they have something that they wanted to say too.
Please. Our audience online needs to be able to hear you. That's why we ask you to come forward.
I've never been to a city council meeting.
Well, welcome. Welcome. It's not a scary place. We're not a scary people.
I'm Tanza Keneally, representing my father. He's a Keystone Heights resident and SCPO retired U.S. Navy, Bob Keneally. Said Ms. Jones was instrumental in creating the beautiful brick veterans walkway at the cemetery entrance. She has been the promoter and coordinator of Wreaths Across America since the beginning. She has personally invited me every year to participate. As an 87-year-old veteran, it is my honor to wear my uniform and place a wreath on the Navy Cross. Mrs. Jones should be honored and respected as she honors and respects all veterans.
Thank you very much.
I don't know if anybody else, and there are several, but I just wanted to, I wasn't planning on speaking, but I just wanted to say that, you know, I've worked with Joan with the Wreaths Across America, and I tell you, she is tireless, and she wears me out. I can tell you that. That's for sure. But she loves the veterans, and she, I mean, my phone blows up all the time about, have you done this? Are you doing this? Why haven't you done this? And it's not like that's my only project, but she doesn't realize that, but she wants it to be my only project. But I appreciate so much that what she has done, and when people just called me one right after another asking that we would honor her in some way. She is 93, I think, and you know, our time is growing short, so I think we do need to do that, and I appreciate the council and their consideration of this as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak to Ms. Joan Jones? No? Okay, seeing none, it's not an action item here this evening. We thank all of you who came out here to support Ms. Joan. It's lovely to see all of her friends come here and tell wonderful stories about her. I've got my own. Sometimes I see that name come up on my cell phone and I go, oh, do I have an hour? You know, because she likes to talk. But it's always a pleasure to be around her. I too attend the Wreaths Across America and feel like she's just done so much for our veterans. And you know, she would love to keep going, but she realizes at this point in time that she really does need some help with the event. And so I'm so glad that Ms. Bullock has stepped in and is now helping her. Mr. Paul Yates helps her. Mr. Eddie helps her. So it's nice to see all of you here. Can we move that to next month's agenda and make it an action item? Okay. And we have a second presentation. You guys, we're a really interesting group here, and I know you want to stay and hang out, but you know, you might miss something if you leave, but you're welcome to leave if that's what you want to do. Absolutely, Miss Lee, don't worry. And give folks a chance to kind of move on. There you go.
Thank you, Cindy.
We lost all of our friends.
Well, I hope they're not enemies.
That's a good point. Point well taken. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you, Gayward.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So we have a second presentation tonight. Ms. Rukowski had seen it and heard it, I think, at Rotary and asked Ms. Bullock to come show us and tell us what's up. And so, Ms. Bullock, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. First of all, I'm wearing my Keystone blue in honor of our Keystone schools tonight. I would like to thank the Keystone Heights City Council for allowing me this time to talk about the Ed First plan, which is a county-wide plan on using the sales tax referendum that was passed in 2020. I also like to thank Lynn for inviting me. I appreciate it very much to give this opportunity. The Add First plan is a huge document. I'm not going over all this, so you're lucky for that. However, the one little piece that I pulled out is what you see here. And as you can see under the second item, it says immediate need. And the immediate need says, and the first need, of course, is to take care of all those things, those projects like an HVAC system, which we just completed at Orange Park High School to the tune of $900,000. So you can see where the sales tax money will quickly be used up. The Keystone schools will benefit in the fact that we will have actually 3 pieces at the Keystone area. The plan is for the Keystone Elementary School to be on the old McDavid Park. The Keystone Elementary would become a middle school, 6 through 8, and the high school would be a true high school, 9 through 12. That would help with the reduction of portables, which we are the 3rd largest in the state with portables. 900 portables we have in this county, just so you are aware of that. Well, first of all, let me just say that the district does a phenomenal job putting together this plan, and I appreciate very much the voters approving the referendum. And I'm in favor of the plan. However, the part I want to happen is I want the Keystone schools to be moved up with the other new schools. And I know if you've driven to the Lake Asbury or Green Cove area, you know that the growth is there. They're anticipating 2 new schools right away for that area. They call it immediate need, but we also see us as immediate need. Well, to me, immediate means like now. And so we keep getting pushed down for those new schools, and I don't want that to happen. And that's where I need everybody's help. I took some pictures, and I first of all, I want to thank Mary. My gosh, I'm going to hire her out. This is a restroom at Keystone Elementary School. As you see, there are 2 sinks, there are 2 urinals, and there's 1 stall that serves 200 boys. And at my house, I have 3 restrooms for 1 person. So just to get an idea of what some of the things are that you're going to see. And the next picture I want to show you, this is the SRO officer that works at Keystone Elementary School. That's right, he's in a storage room. That's exactly right, because they have no space to put him. Okay, and the next picture shows where they want to move him to. Is that lovely or not? You see the AC in the corner? Yes. When do you think you saw one of those last time? That's still at Keystone Heights Elementary School, because I just took these pictures Friday. These are not old pictures. These are Friday pictures. And so this is an area they're going to refurbish so that our officer can go there. The next picture that I want to show you, because I believe a picture is worth 1,000 words. This is after a rain, and you can see the flooding on the sidewalks, in the hallways, the corridors. And of course, if you notice that the sidewalks are narrow, the doors open out. They're required to open out for safety reasons. So what that means is the students have to walk on the outside of the walkways, and when it rains, you can only imagine what that must look like. I want to tell you, because of COVID, everybody has had to kind of revamp their plans. Schools are not designed for COVID. We have teams, ensembles, collaborative learning, group work, all those things. We weren't designed for COVID, but we've had to adjust just like everybody else has. And the next pictures show, this is the cafeteria. I want you to look. Now, first of all, we have the stage utilized. We have the main building utilized. And I think there's another picture coming up. Yes, and this, what you see there is food prep. Do you know where they're prepping to take that food to? To the gym. That's where our 6th grade is eating. That's correct. So from the farthest point, the cafeteria, the food service people have to fix those food and take to the gym so we have enough space. And so during that time where the gym is occupied for lunch, guess what? Who can't be there? The PE teacher. So she's outside, and that's fine as long as we have good weather. But this is Florida, and so there are times when she actually holds classes under covered walkways, and you saw the walkways. So I don't know if you have, I think there's a couple of other pictures. This is an outside area that's designed for seating for lunch as well. So we're we've outgrown all the space. We are the most overcapacity school in the district. 110% is what we have. While we like schools to be pretty full because it's financially responsible to have that, but there's a fine line when they become so overcapacity that it becomes a safety concern. And it was that way when I was there. There are over 800 students that are on that spot, and it's about 8 acres. So, you know, I don't know if I had some more pictures or not. The next part I ask, some of you might say, well, what can I do? What can we do to help? Well, I've gone around and I went to Rotary, and I've asked for letters to be sent to the school board and to Superintendent Brodsky. And again, I'm not debating the plan. The plan's fine. They've done a great job. What I'm debating is that we need to be pushed up the plan. We need to be considered immediate, just like it was promised. In fact, Dr. Kemp came to this very council and said our community would benefit the most from the sales tax. And I want to make sure that that word, I don't care who's in charge, that word should be that word. And here's a letter that was written. The first one was from Carrie Morford. Many of you know she's a longtime Keystone resident. She says in the letter that both her husband and she have both worked there. And when they voted for the sales tax, she said, because I believed what was promised. And now I hear that it might not happen, or it might not happen as soon as I would like it to. And so she is saying, she has sent a letter to Superintendent Brodsky and to the school board, and to Bryce, who is the operations person. And I thought, okay, well, she's kind of like me. She's been a long time here. Maybe I've gone cynical, been here a long time. You know, they've been promising. And by the way, the high school is 47 years old. So if you don't know. And if I were to ask you what the new school was, you'd probably say McRae, and it's 25 years old. Time does get away from us, doesn't it? Okay, and Keystone Elementary, I believe, is probably one of the oldest schools in the community, not just in Keystone, in the county, because it was used back when George Allen was there, and it was a K through 12, and they did a lot of things. So Tony knows I see a lot of people that are shaking their head. The next letter is from a newcomer. This is from Allison, and she is the director. She is the director of Camp Immokalee. And she said, I'm a new person here. I'm expecting my first child, and I see how hard the people here in this community, and she's, like I say, new, have fight to get the things they need. And however, I probably won't stay here. I will probably go to somewhere else in the county because I see that it's a lack of concern for what needs to be. And so but I've had letter after letter like that. So what I'm asking for you to support this, the city council, because it's not my school, it's not your school, it's our school, it's everybody's schools. And good schools make good communities. And I know I'm speaking to Mr. Peoples because he knows that we have spilled over. We have on Pecan Street, a public road. That's where we have bus pickup there. And on Peach, we have where parents come. Fortunately, it's improved because we got some parking that we bought some property from St. Williams, but we're kind of landlocked over there. And that helped a lot on Peach Street. But again, we've spilled over to all of those places. So we've run out of room. So when they say, oh, well, let's just upgrade the cafeteria, there's no space. Do you know how many times I've seen the cafeteria be changed since I've been here? 4 times. 4 times. And you can't make more space unless you go up. But anyway, I'm asking for the council and for the community to get behind this, write letters, and I want to call up Patricia Hatch. Patricia is her and her husband. I don't know if they got roped in, volunteered, or whatever, but I'm appreciative.
You had nothing to do with it, right? Yeah, not at all. And I think part of it is, and we actually live in Putnam County. Our business is in Keystone, just recently. But having come, and I know a lot of you guys from Kiwanis and stuff, and watching over the last 4 years since we've been here, what everybody in the community goes through for the kids, I mean, whether it be the elementary or the high school. And one of the things that Keith and I are going to do is spearhead a petition and get the businesses and everybody that we know involved, and no different than they did, at Melrose, to save, to save the school. We're pulling some stats together, because I know the information that Tina has shared is that they're looking at seats in the schools. Now, I can put 100 seats in here and fill it with 50% and call it we're 50. There are ways to manipulate that data. So one of the things we want to look at is looking at, they said Green Cove Springs, the growth is there. The growth is here too. I work in real estate. There's growth here. So we're going to be pulling stats together in the area, surrounding area. And yes, Green Cove Springs is growing, but it takes almost a year to build a new house. Our need is immediate. So we're going to pull some of that information together and get that petition, and we're going to look at the whole seating based on square footage. So we're going to look at it maybe just a little bit different. But we are going to have that hopefully ready. We're also looking at maintenance records, at the local schools, to see if we can include that in the information that's being. We're not just going to throw a petition out. We're going to get some information together to share that with people, and then reach out to our business partners and friends and family and get that petition signed, no different than they did.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to come bring it back to council for a minute before we move on from presentations. Would it be the consensus of the council for next month to do a resolution from the city of Keystone Heights?
Yes. I think that's appropriate.
Yes.
Okay, so what we'll do as a body is we'll draw up a resolution. You can come back next month, both of you, and we'll present the resolution, and you can move that forward to the district.
Madam Mayor, if I may, I have had some correspondence with the superintendent, and it looks like one of the assumptions that were made when the growth plan was drawn up was this was a no-growth area, which of course is totally wrong. And I would hope that the superintendent and the district would address that issue specifically, because as we know, growth is going crazy around here.
In fact, Dr. Kemp, when he came, he said, Tina, y'all will be the next, because there's nowhere else to go. And there are already developers who are buying up property here in this area, out on Bellamy. So we've already got that happening. But I appreciate very much your support of this. And again, I'm not asking for them to change the plan. We're in the plan. I'm just asking for, when they go to build those new 2 schools, that we're one of those 3 schools. It becomes 3 schools that they're building. They can do that. They may have to have an additional project manager, but they can do all those kinds of things. Another thing that I have that I'd like to give to maybe to Lynn, and I think it's something y'all would like for your archives. It's called Keystone Area Schools, and it's got some really old pictures and informations. I mean, that one time residents put a roof on the building over there at the school. I mean, it's amazing to me. So it's something you might want to like. I'd like to have my copy back, but I appreciate it very much. And again, thanks Mary and the IT. They did a great job. They made my terrible pictures look decent. and a picture is worth 1,000 words. But thank you for your time. Have a great.
Madam Mayor, can I say something? Thank you, Ms. Bullock. Thank you, Ms. Hatch. And I have a child who's a senior now who started at Midway Learning Center for pre-K and has been in Keystone Heights Elementary. He's been in Keystone Heights High School his whole time he's been here. I was a class of 79. Sitting right next to me is a class of 80. So we're kind of 81. I'm sorry, 81. So we're kind of sorry about that. We're kind of quasi-experts about that school. My son had asthma, bronchial asthma, when he was in the 5th and 6th grade. And I'm going to tell you something. If you get rid of them portables, that would be wonderful, because some of those portables are so old. There is no way that they are not getting bad air circulated from underneath all the junk and all the mold and everything that's going up under them things. He had a horrible year in the 5th grade. It was horrible. He was out over 15 days with his asthma and his bronchitis. And I think that's direct and proximate to the reason why. So I'm all about this. And if you want me, I will write as a parent a letter to the superintendent, and whatever we decide here, I appreciate that, what you've done here.
I sent the template. I think, Lynn, you have the template of what I sent out to the different community groups, because I've spoken to the Business Association and kind of the bulk of it, but then you tweak it to your own, like you can say specific things about your son and
Right.
what you think happened. And that's what the portables, get rid of those. They're ancient. And again, we'll have space if we're able to build full buildings and that kind of thing. But there are so many programs we could have, but we have no space.
Right.
So thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you,
Bullock.
Jeannie.
I appreciate it. Mr. Brown?
While we're on this subject,
You get-
when I was there in the elementary school, in the late 60s, early 70s, we had that old building that they tore down to build the cafeteria. And back then, you knew everybody. And I ride around this town now, this place has grown so much and so fast. My question is, and I was up in, I call it the garbage road, the one that goes from 16 around to 17, Rosemary Landing. And seeing what is being built just out there that used to be dairy farms and stuff, does the developers, don't they have to pay something into the school system to build new schools?
They give us a big piece of property usually to build the school. And it's not the greatest piece of property. Let me make that note.
Okay, I was curious about that, so.
Tina, I'm sure you're keeping tabs on what's happening up at 16 with that huge planned unit development with housing and a school, apparently. It's going to be huge, and it's going to have an impact down here.
We're gonna be like St. Johns County.
Yeah.
I think Ms. Hatch wants to say something.
Ms. Hatch, did you have something?
You mentioned St. Johns County. In St. Johns County, the builders are actually putting money into the infrastructure for those new communities, not in Clay County.
That's what it should be.
I mean, that's, yeah, and that's
So-
where we came from, St. Johns, so, yeah.
And I go to Fleming Island High School sometimes, and I'm just amazed at all the good new stuff they got. So much stuff to do there. And I mean, it's like we're a redheaded stepchild down here, and I just, you know.
Okay, so I know there's passionate conversation about the subject. We have an engineer who's online who we kind of need to get to. So I'd like to go to items 9E and 9F. And I'll turn that over to Ms. Rakowski.
Yes, Madam Mayor, we're getting Mr. Bowles on Zoom here. I just wanted to bring to your attention item 9E, the Trailhead Award. Thursday, we were able to open bids for our trailhead. You can see in your packet that the engineer estimated cost was $76,155. Low bidder was Earthworks at $82,274.72. We'd like to go ahead and award, if it pleases the council, so we can move forward with our RTP grant. And if you have any questions, I believe that Donnie Bowles is coming in the room.
I am here. Hold on just 1 second. Sorry about that.
Good evening, Mr. Bowles.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well. So those were the three companies that did put in bids for our trailhead. As I said, this is an RTP grant. This is something that we've been working on for quite some time. We have $46,000 coming in from the state, as well as $46,000 coming in from Clay County. And we do need to move forward with this quickly, as the grant will expire.
Okay, so we have 3 bids. Staff recommendation would be?
Staff recommendation is to award it to Earthworks at $82,272.74.72.
I'll make that motion. We accept that bid.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes 5-0.
Fantastic. And Madam Mayor, just for your visibility, we'll be working with the state for a notice to proceed. Once we receive that, we're looking at approximately 3 to 4 weeks for construction. Mr. Bowles, is that correct?
That is correct.
Any timeline on the approval? Do you have a timeline?
We spoke with them today. We're looking at within the next 2 weeks.
Excellent. So within 6-7 weeks, we should be done with the project.
That's correct.
Excellent.
And that's all I have for that item, Madam Mayor.
Okay, we're going to move to item 9F.
The next item is the Michael Baker International, the fee or the rates. I received this earlier today. Staff has not had time to review it. I know council has just now put eyes on it. However, I would recommend at this moment that we table it till next meeting so that everybody can have a chance to take a look at that.
Okay. Seeing
I-
consensus, we can move that
Good.
to the April meeting.
April.
Okay?
And then if you have any additional questions for our engineer while he's online.
Any additional questions from council?
No.
Let's just get her done. All right. We'll
Thank-
go back.
Thank you, Donnie.
Thank you, Donnie.
Thank you, guys. Have a good evening.
Moving back to the regular agenda, we're on public hearings, which there are none. We move into events. Event A, volleyball tournament. Is there anyone here to present that event or to talk to the event? Ms. Wachowski?
No, Madam Mayor, there is not this evening. I've had conversations, so has Ms. Etheridge regarding this event. We do recognize, and it has been discussed, that is the date that they're asking for is Good Friday, that we do have an Kiwanis event that is already committed from the city on that Sunday. I do not have the staff ability to clean up after this event if there's anything left. So the burden would be on Kiwanis if there is any debris or anything left from this event. There's a couple other things that I don't know for certain, that the beach would be open at that time due to the construction. We'd be very happy to work with the applicant if they wanted to push it back, and I can assure that staff can assist in getting this event ready, but there is a prior commitment on that Sunday.
If you would, please, could you work with the event applicant? And if there's some time we may need to meet in the future about that, we can maybe do a special meeting for it. I really, understanding the circumstances behind this event is very sensitive, and I want to make sure to respect everyone. And so if you would privately speak to them and see if they're willing to move it, and then maybe you could reach out to us and let us know what the outcome was.
Absolutely.
Madam Mayor, I have a suggestion. Why don't we just simply delegate to staff the authority to change the date and keep the application open to a date that would work better for the city, where we could have adequate cleanup, rather than coming back to us. I think consensus will probably be to approve it, just like I would.
The
But
possibility exists that they don't want to negotiate it, which would require a
well,
decision.
at least leave the door open if they wish to, and then give staff the authority to do a new date if they can work it out. That'd be my suggestion.
Whatever.
So the application for that Friday, it's up to council to approve that specific date.
Okay, so what she's asking us is, are we going to turn down the date of that event? And then she'll go out and negotiate a later event.
I think that's, unfortunately, that's what we're going to need to do.
I agree.
I mean, it's not actually even open yet, and then we got, sunrise services on that Sunday morning, and, and I know Kiwanis is kind of slim on, people sometimes to be able to be
Volunteer.
out there volunteering, so.
Yeah, I don't think Kiwanis could undertake a cleanup from the Friday event prior to the Easter Sunday event.
And especially not having staff,
Yeah.
you know, here on Good Friday, they're off, so.
Yeah, well, everybody usually gets that day
Yeah.
off. All right, so is it the consensus to decline the applicant event on that specific date? Is there a motion?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to decline.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes 5-0.
And we do it with a heavy heart to decline it too.
Yes.
Aye.
We're moving moving into the 5K run event. I see the event applicant is here tonight. Hello, Ms. Collins, welcome.
Thank you very much. Good evening. I put in the application for the 5K run again this year that we sponsored for the first time last year, and I believe it was successful. We had a good turnout, and we had a lot of community input. They were thankful that it was put on, and we had a lot of people at the race who really enjoyed it and appreciated it. So we're rolling again. We're optimistic that we can do this every year and continue it. And same parameters, same time, same route, same number, volunteers we'll bring to the table. I've spoken with Clay County Sheriff's Office already today, and they said once, we get it on the calendar or whatnot, or we are approved, they'll put it on the calendar, but they've already verified that they would probably have the same crew working it. So here we are, looking forward to it.
Any new stuff for the race this year?
Yes, so I was speaking with the timer, and we're talking about, I'd like to add a wheelchair division, because we actually had a gentleman who was in a wheelchair who participated last year. And I felt kind of bad that we didn't have something specific for him, but I didn't know he was coming. But he lives in Green Cove, and so I've put aside his name and email to contact him and ask him to come back, and that we'd have a wheelchair division this year. And then also the timer suggested that we could do teams as well. He said that's always fun.
So you would have teams set along the...
No, I think like you register as a team, and then depending on your time, like, you could be the first place team with the lowest time, like combined. So,
Okay, gotcha.
yeah.
I want to be in the team that goes real slow.
You had a great turnout last year, didn't you?
It was, I think we ended up having 107. So I think 96 showed up. Some, people just change of plans and whatnot.
Well,
but-
I would move approval of the application.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. We're up to item 5, the consent agenda, which includes the February minutes and the payables for January. Is there a motion to approve?
Also move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes 5-0. We have appointments tonight. And the first appointment is the canvassing board. You should have received on your dais an applicant that was late filed but appreciatively filed. Bruce Harvin has applied to become the canvassing resident. Do you have anything else on that, Ms. Rakowski? Is there anything else we should know?
No, Madam Mayor, Mr. Andre did resign from that position, and we are desperately seeking somebody to fill it, as the election will be held next month.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept Bruce Harvin as the canvassing appointee?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Welcome to the family again. Mr. Harvin, if you're watching. We also have the Northeast Florida League of Cities Board. Ms. Rakowski, you want to explain that, please?
Madam Mayor, Councilman Peoples has served on that board. I guess their secretary, their administrator has contacted me asking me who is going to fill that position, as he's not running for re-election. And so it is up to the council to appoint somebody to fill that seat.
Is there a burning desire to represent on council?
And so it is every other, and Councilman Peoples can speak to this better, but I believe it's every other meeting. It meets 6 times a year. I know Councilman Brown has served on it.
Yeah.
Prior to the dinners.
I mean, I'm not going to, the tradition was somebody to appoint somebody, but I'm not going to do that. I think people should self-nominate, so that, if they want to do it, they don't want, they can do it. They can self-nominate. And then we can vote on tonight and be a done deal, so that person can sit in April when they have a meeting. That would be our meeting, wouldn't it? That'd be Keystone.
Yes, it would.
Okay, so it wouldn't be our meeting, it'd be the Green Cove Springs meeting would be
Which is in March.
yeah.
And Councilman Peoples, that would still be your meeting.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so their next meeting would be April, May, June.
Yeah.
Any burning desire?
I'm involved in a contested election, so I don't think I want to volunteer for a short-term job in case things don't work out.
Mr. Brown?
I'll do it till I retire.
Thank you. You get extra pay for that.
Yeah, right. You get at the back of the line when they serve food.
Do we need a motion on that, or can he just simply volunteer?
Should have a motion.
Okay. Is there a motion to nominate Mr. Brown as the Northeast Florida League of Cities Board Representative?
I will make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes 5-0. All right, our appointments are done. We're on to old business. Old business, beach renovation project. Ms. Rakowski?
Madam Mayor, in your packets, you do have an updated scope and fee. You have Exhibit A and
Bless you.
Exhibit B from Sheer Construction regarding our beach renovation projects that consist of three separate projects put together. One is the restrooms with additional storage, the stage, and then the covered picnic area that's next to the playground. With that being said, we've had conversations within Budget and Finance to look at the possibility of just going through approving Exhibit A, which is the design, the $14,000, work through that throughout the summer, and then that way, if it pleases council to move forward with construction, we can go ahead with Exhibit B. However, Exhibit B will probably change due to construction costs, things such as steel and lumber and whatnot, as the factories are going through transition and beginning to open back up.
Any discussion about the approval of the design fees?
No, I have no issue with it. I would vote for approval.
Any questions of the Budget and Finance Committee's recommendation?
I think it's a good approach to take, and I would, if there was a motion on the floor or not.
Is there a motion on the floor? You can make a motion.
I'll make that motion that we proceed with the design fee proposal at this time.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes 5-0. We are under committee reports. Budget and Finance has reported out. Growth Management, Vice Mayor Hart.
Nothing to report today.
Chairman Kirkland, Keystone Heights Airport Authority. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. Few items to report. The airport staff and what we refer to as our NARC committee. It's the NASA Artifacts Relocation Committee. They've been inventorying the remaining NASA artifacts as well as coordinating with representatives from several museums who expressed interest in obtaining some of those artifacts. Earlier this year, many of the artifacts were picked up and transported to three different places, Pima Air and Space Museum in Tucson, Arizona, the California Science Center Foundation in Los Angeles, California, as well as the Valiant Air Command in Titusville, Florida. Unfortunately, there are a few remaining artifacts, such as the Hubble Telescope Underwater Trainer, and the transport trailer and carriage for the center fuel tank, whose size exceeds the DOT requirements for movement without special permits and special transportation. And unfortunately, none of the museums have any interest, due mainly to the cost of incurring those costs to move those items. So we've also determined that it's just not feasible for us to set them up as a static display. We've looked at the cost of concrete pads for them, fencing around them, lighting, and long-term maintenance, and it's just not feasible. So Maria Hitt, our airport manager, is working with Vice Chair Scott Fryer to find scrap locations for these items. We've even thought about talking with Florida Wildlife Commission about would they be interested in maybe using them for artificial reefs. We don't know. We're just trying to exhaust all possibilities. It's just unfortunate because the items are so large, you just can't move them with any kind of ease. We've made some minor revisions to the Keystone Heights Airport bylaws. Those have been sent to our Keystone Heights Airport Authority Board for their review at tomorrow night's meeting. Airport Attorney Jim Taylor reviewed the recommended changes and found no issues. I want to say special thanks to Maria Hitt, our airport manager, as well as our city manager, Lynn Rutowski, for their assistance in tweaking that document. I was very proud when the attorney came back and said, hey, it all looks good to me. You've done a good job. So we appreciate that. This morning, Earthworks began an apron rehabilitation project consisting of removing existing asphalt and easy base from an apron area that had become unusable and unstable due to easy base and the dynamics of that particular product. This is one of two aprons that were addressed in the litigation that was settled several months ago. So we're looking forward to getting that portion of the project of the apron done. There's another section between two hangars that has the same type of material in it. That's the second of the two that was addressed in the litigation, and we're working with the FAA of possibly getting funding to get that replaced. The airport will be hosting the Keystone Lake Region Business Association Mixer on March 11th at 5:30 p.m. I know that that's also ribbon cutting for the beach pavilion, and but I believe the times are to where maybe you can do one and then come out if you're part of that business association to the new FBO at the airport. The airport hosted 10 Boy Scouts yesterday from 1 to 5 p.m. It was an afternoon of learning about general aviation and a lot of airplane rides. Once completed, they all received their aviation merit badge.
There you go.
That was a fun day. Another fun day that's coming up that we're very proud of, the Air Ops Spring Turkey Gobbler Hunt is scheduled at the airport March 19th through the 21st. Chad Richard, one of our board members, along with volunteers from U.S. Forestry Service, will be hosting 4 to 6 veterans that weekend. This will be the 11th scheduled Air Ops event since the organization was formed in September of 2015. And we're very proud of that. We've had a lot of wounded warriors and veterans come in, and it's been a pleasure to host that event every year. The last thing, the airport has partnered with a local resident and friend, I think all of us know Miss Joni Miller, to come out to the airport each Thursday, and she sells a deli-style hot dogs and sausages, not only to local residents that are coming out, but also to tenants and transit pilots. We have had pilots for the last 2 weeks flying from Tampa just to come up for the hot dogs.
Joni's hot
So it's
dog.
kind of interesting.
That's great.
She told Maria she has now sold over 400 delicious dogs and made a handful of new friends. So it's
There
been
you
well
go.
received, and it's always fun. You know, if you've been around Joni, it's always a trip. Any questions?
On the apron that you're breaking down, do you have any other plans beyond that for that particular apron? Are you adding it back?
Yes, it will be replaced with lime rock and asphalt, as it should have been originally. The easy base, sub-base material that was used is actually being hauled back to JEA. We worked with their legal staff and our engineer to make sure that happened because of it's their product, so they were agreeable to take it back. Unfortunately, it added some additional costs because that recycling plant is on the north side of Jacksonville, so it's going to be a lot of dump truck load fulls of easy base and subfill material going back for storage.
Yeah. It's
Don't
not
know what they're gonna do
recyclable,
with
is it? It's not recyclable material, is
No.
it?
I have one question. You spoke earlier, at the beginning of it with the, all the artifacts and everything. The one that's in the old naval base, rentals over there in Green Cove, is that one of the ones you were talking about?
No, fortunately, that does not belong to
Okay,
the
that's-
airport.
okay.
That still belongs to GSA, government
Okay.
surplus, and they're pulling their hair out about what they can do with that as
Okay.
well. We've had conversations with them on a couple of other items there at the airport that are GSA, and trying to get those to museums or other homes where they'd be displayed.
Okay.
Anything else from Mr. Kirkland? Nope. Thank you very much for your monthly report.
Well, you're welcome.
I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
All right.
Ms. Rakowski, anything for planning and zoning this month?
Not yet, Madam Mayor. The city has received an application for the new gas station, which will be heard next month from the county
Okay,
council.
thank you.
Can I ask a question? Planning and zoning, are we still looking at forming a board for planning and zoning?
Yes, sir. I need 4 more
And-
members.
How many?
4.
Okay. I would say, because that puts us in a very sticky situation, playing 2 roles sometimes, I would ask everyone to try to find somebody to serve on this board. I mean, I know most of the ones that served on before have moved away or just have no interest.
They're
But-
on council.
Yeah, they're on council. So we really need to fill this board so we can, in case we have something come up. That's all I have.
Just to amplify that a bit, council, don't think I'm talking out of school, but the planning and zoning sometimes will act like a court in a quasi-judicial capacity, and I think you're concerned about us basically wearing 2 hats, turning something down or approving something, and then conducting a
Right.
hearing. Yeah, I would be very much in accord with finding 4 other people. Also, growth management, I can envision working with planning and zoning on some projects that may be coming down the pike. I think it's very important that be staffed.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Hart, do you have anything from the Heritage Commission?
No, not at this time.
Okay. Then we move into new business. 2021-589 park rules. Ms. Rakowski?
Madam Mayor, I've worked with our city attorney, Mr. Commando, regarding the workshop. I think that we've captured the rules and regulations that were discussed. I wanted to bring this in front of council one last time before we present it to public hearing, introducing the new rules, changes regarding alcohol consumption, as well as dogs or pets within the park. And then just some cleanup of some old regulations as well.
Are there any questions of staff regarding the park rules? Mr.
Yes.
Brown?
Let me get my
List?
ducks in a row. Okay. One thing is the alcohol. I do have a question on page 4, in C, where it says, if alcohol is approved by the city, including but not limited to parking lot, parks, picnic areas, beach, or lake. Verify to me, does that mean it is not allowed, period, in those areas?
That's correct. It would not be allowed. The conversation out of the workshop was that it would just be allowed within the pavilion and the
Right.
deck surrounding.
Okay. Mayor, back when we did this issue with the airport, when they had their dinners and stuff for special occasions and stuff, but today, I called the city of Green Cove just to see. They're the only ones that popped in my head about Okay, they have a city park, they have a beautiful pool, they have the building there above the pool where I saw an advertisement, they're wanting to advertise rentals on that too. And I asked about that. And I know if I'm not mistaken, in our workshop, we gave, when someone gives an event form to rent the pavilion for that it would be up to staff. My understanding from the person I spoke to at Green Cove today is that anything like that comes before the council, and the council approves the event for that. I personally think, for one, my fear is no matter what kind of rules you have in here, you're going to have people that kind of socialize out of the area where they're drinking is allowed. And we have a playground there, especially during the daytime. I don't want to see that. And I know, working 4th of July and everything, you can't stop it from coming in. I mean, you can't. But I don't feel like that we should invite it in the way of the playgrounds and stuff. And I like that was verified to me. But I think that we as a body, a council body, should be the one to approve the event and not someone fill it out and then staff, and nothing against staff. But I just feel like personally the event form should come to us. And we should be able to look at it and say yay or nay on the alcohol.
Do you have any concern about the volume that might come before us? I mean, I hope the volume is a problem.
Meaning volume of?
Applicants, event applications? That's the only problem. I mean, I took that position only because I foresaw it would be, we'd have one right after another.
Well,
I can agree with you on that.
Mm-hmm.
I can go back and say, yeah, this body can pick and choose which events have alcohol in it and what time of day those events take place.
Right.
I can agree with that. But I also know that at some point, we might get to a place where there's just a lot of event applicants.
Well, I understand that. The thing is when I worked at a camp, I knew way in advance who was coming. And I feel like if you're going to have an event, it's not going to be something that's just going to pop up and say, let's have an event down at the beach and come in here on a Monday morning and have an event on Saturday. I think that people should be responsible enough to plan. And if they're going to have something of that magnitude, including alcohol, they should plan it and then have a chance to come before this body and ask permission.
It will put a delay in people's plans. I mean, there is the real possibility that if there was availability there and they could book the facility and they still couldn't get in front of council before that date came, then they wouldn't be able to reserve the space.
I can see a slippery slope here. I don't know what kind of criteria do they use in Green Cove to accept or deny an application. You'd almost have to have some pretty firm guidelines as to why we could turn someone down. We can't just play favorites. So I'd just be curious as to what kind of criteria we would apply if we made the final call on that.
And unfortunately, the person that handles the reservations and stuff was not there today.
Okay.
So I was talking to another staff member.
Yeah.
I brought that up. I just think that, events and stuff, I mean, the event for 4th of July or the run and these kind of events come before us. And then when you're doing the beach thing, I know it's different, but I just have a concern that it might put.
Yeah, whether we approve it or staff approves it, there is some language I'd like to vary. I don't have specific language, but in the rules there is some discussion about alcoholic beverages must stay within the pavilion, and if they don't follow the rules, then there's a deposit that doesn't get returned, and I'd like to amplify that a little bit to the effect, and the appropriate authorities may be contacted for violation of law or ordinance. So that people understand that if they're walking around with a red cup, it might cost them $500.
Well, I too am okay with staff, taking the reservation. But, I mean, either way, I just think if I'm a planning person, Ms. Collins is unusual. She comes here 4 months ahead of time, 5-6 months ahead of time for her event, and that's a lot of foresight, but it's an annual event, and so.
Yeah, we're talking about
No, I agree, like I'm ahead of the curve for sure, I try to plan her, but I do understand Mr. Brown's concerns, it's better to be safe than sorry, that's me. And and to me, I can see that, like, I don't know what, like, if someone's like, oh, let's throw a gathering, at the beach the day before, and they happen to get in before 4 o'clock, and then, or that night, I mean, and then how are you gonna, I understand the deposit, and I agree with that, giving it back, who's enforcing that? And I don't know, I just see that it's better to roll it out slowly than put it all out there and then try to reel it back in. But that's just my opinion. So I understand Mr. Brown's concerns as well.
Maybe we could try, say, for the first 6 months that this is in effect, having council make all the determinations and see how that goes. And if it seems to be going pretty smoothly, then delegate it to staff for routine things like, birthday parties or reunions or something like that. But maybe retain control for a while, just to see how this is going to work out.
That sounds good to me.
If there's alcohol
Can you come up to the podium? Sorry, Ms.
Just a
Nicole.
suggestion, if there's alcohol on the premises, if the concern is minors being there and having access, then they have to sign something that's saying that nobody under a certain age is there. It's just not. And of course, a liability thing saying that they're not responsible, they are responsible if someone is injured or breaks the rules. So, but if the concern is about children, then just make sure that there's not gonna be any kids there on the playground or accessing for that. Or if it has to be a certain time and the kids are not gonna be there, then the alcohol. So, just a thought. Boundaries.
So what's the pleasure of the council? What do we want to do here?
I think that if there's an ordinance about it, then I think that it carries the full weight and approval of the council, and I believe that the staff would be competent enough to make a decision. We may have them make decisions all the time for us here, and I don't see why they can't make this decision, this particular decision also.
I'm just concerned about what criteria would we use to accept or deny an application. We have to really get that worked out in advance. It'd be one more thing we'd have to do as far as bureaucratic things.
Mr. Commando, can you speak to that?
No, I agree. Whether you have staff or whether the council approves, right now, there's no criteria as to what would be approved or what would be denied. So I would advise the council to come up with whatever that criteria is as you're trying to work through the format.
Is there anything else we're missing, Mr. Commando?
I agree with Vice Mayor Hart that you're going down a slippery slope, not necessarily about what's approved and what's denied, but, if it is something that the council is willing to entertain that's approved for the pavilion, I'm not sure why it's any different if you have a private event in the park or one of the other parks or anywhere else for that matter. So just understand that that's a door that when you open, as your public comments, it's going to be very hard to reel back in.
Well, administratively, we've been approving, correct me if I'm wrong, rentals without coming to council. Big special events, that's something else. The only difference here that I see is this is just basically a rental contract with the wrinkle folded in that there can be alcohol within a certain area, period. Perhaps beef up the penalty a little bit and make it clear in the rules that whoever signs that application is personally liable for the whole mess in case things go sideways.
I agree with that. I also think that there probably needs to, as you talk about guidelines and rules, there probably needs to be some sort of enforcement mechanism. I mean, city staff can't be hanging out at every party to make sure that people follow the rules.
What would be your suggested enforcement?
I mean, for some events, you have law enforcement that has to be at the events. I don't know, maybe we have spot drop code enforcement stop by from time to time. Obviously not at every park. I don't know if the fine, for example, or losing the deposit is gonna be a deterrent. I mean, for some people, they may just consider that the cost of
Doing
the
the
rental.
Would it be a good suggestion the current sheriff uses PSAs for a lot of events?
If the sheriff's willing to do that.
Could we require them to hire an off-duty deputy?
So you can, I would want to ask the sheriff's office if that's okay with them first. I have been in other client situations where that was made a requirement, and the sheriff's office said, yeah, we will not allow our people to be at certain things. This does not seem to be one of those types of events, but before we include that as one of our regulations, I would suggest we at least reach out to the sheriff and check.
Yeah, and trying to be consumer friendly, do we really want to comp at a wedding reception?
Yeah.
That just, to me, just kind of rubs.
Sorry,
the
say
wrong way.
again? I didn't hear.
Would we really want to dictate to I'd say, a newlywed couple at the reception that they have to have a law enforcement officer there? I don't think so. I think they'll go somewhere else.
Right, and I was just trying to suggest, how do you find a way to enforce whatever rules you do come up with?
Well, perhaps the fine could double, or the forfeiture could double. I don't, is it $500 for having alcohol in the park right now? I think it is, isn't it? Possibly.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, perhaps say,
That's-
okay, forfeiture would double if, because now this is a unique set of circumstances.
Is this something, then, are you looking at the possibility of the deposit then going up, and that's some, my thought would be is how would we capture those funds? If, or how would we enforce that penalty? If they're caught by whom? We can look down the cameras and look to see possibly. However, if it's a $500 fine, if they're caught, then we have to go through the code enforcement process, or the sheriff's office to go track them down and then acquire those funds. Are you looking to beef up maybe the deposit and then look at the potential of losing that the deposit?
As far as who do you sue, if you could, in the agreement, impute the liability to whoever is signing the document, make that person personally liable, then you'd have less of a problem with proof. All you would need, I would think, would be someone to testify that, yeah, we saw somebody walking around with a red cup. Bingo, that's it. Then Johnny, who signed the document, he's better get his checkbook out. And Johnny better understand that it will be enforced that way. And then you might also want to beef up the extra. I think you had a $100 kicker in there for alcohol. Maybe make that a little higher, and have that be part of to be applied toward a forfeiture. But not liquidated damages. In other words, you could go after them for the full $1,000 or whatever if it was really egregious. Something along those lines.
So, and I apologize with the, can you turn that off, please? So is the council looking at the, and I apologize, Vice Mayor Hart, I could not hear very well.
Yeah,
But
I'll
are we
speak up.
looking at acquiring an additional deposit for alcohol, or are you looking to increase the $100 fee? Because the $100 fee is there because, generally speaking, that's going to be a little bit more of cleanup for staff. When there's alcohol involved, there's spills and things of that nature. And so that was something that was not going to be returned. There was a $100 fee if you were going to consume alcohol within the rental. Was that? So are you looking at an alcohol deposit on top of the original deposit?
Yeah, that could be forfeited not as liquidated damages, but as toward a penalty. And then if the city wanted to pursue it even further, take it through code enforcement and have the ordinance provide for a double fine in the event that this is violated. In other words, $1,000.
Okay. So it would be then that instead of a $150 deposit up front, because we're talking about if you're consuming alcohol without the knowledge of the city, then that deposit's actually going to increase. If you're found that you did indeed bring alcohol on premise without paying the additional alcohol fee, then that deposit would not be returned. Can I ask council what their suggestion is as far as what that new deposit number would be?
Well, considering for a wedding reception, they're probably gonna pay the photographer $1,000. I would say somewhere between $300 and $500 would not be unreasonable. It can be returned if everything is fine.
Okay.
If not, they lose it. They lose it. And also, in the agreement, make it clear that whoever applies any liability, no matter who does it, is going to be imputed to them, because they will have the responsibility to control the party.
That part's already in.
Is it? Okay.
It says the applicant's responsible for ensuring the alcohol is not consumed in any of the surrounding areas. That was the part that Councilman Brown was talking about.
Might want to beef that up a little bit, but yeah, that's good. That's good.
And then if council's comfortable, then arranging the fee structure so that there would be at least a $300 deposit, and I can work with staff on tweaking the application. There's already some amendments that need to be made, and we take care of that administratively on a daily basis, depending on the needs, but then the deposit would go up to at least 300.
Let me just kind of backtrack. So what Mr. Hart is suggesting is that in addition to the rental fee, whatever time period they're leasing the facility, if they choose to bring alcohol to the facility and consume it, then that would be a 100.
No, like 300. I'm comfortable with that.
A deposit?
A deposit to be returned as long as nobody walks around with a red cup. But if somebody walking around with a red cup, we keep the $300. And we reserve the right to pursue it further and ask for a $1,000 fine. The 300 would be applied towards the fine.
I think you have to have it up front first. You have to have it in hand before you can.
I agree.
And there, just for clarification purposes, on the application, and this was something that was discussed in the workshop, there is a $100 fee that if you're going to consume alcohol, that's non-refundable.
That's a facility fee. That's for taking care of the
that's a facility fee. Then if you're caught bringing alcohol on premise without paying that $100 fee, then you forfeit your $150 deposit, no questions asked. However, then am I hearing an additional that if you do check that $100 box that you're bringing alcohol, then there is an additional $300 fee?
Whatever.
Is that,
We
okay,
need to
I just
check.
want to make,
In the nature of a security deposit, basically, to be returned.
But, okay, so if I'm an applicant, and I apologize to just kind of jump in. If I don't apply to bring alcohol, I don't have to pay the $300 fee, pay a $150 fee. And then I just decide to bring alcohol. If I get caught, I lose my $150. It seems financially beneficial to never tell us you're bringing alcohol.
Yeah, except it might end up costing you either $500 or $1,000 if you're wanting
I
it.
think the mayor's right. Whatever that is, you have to get that deposit up front, or
Yeah.
you'll never see it.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there has to be a provision where if you violate any of the conditions of the application, we can shut down whatever event you have immediately and have everybody exit.
so would that be the $300 fee up front regardless if you check your alcohol box or not?
Well, on the mayor's
I think so.
part.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think you up your deposit, and that covers us whether you
Okay.
check the box or not.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that I'm clear when we revise the
Is
application.
everyone clear?
Do we need a check? I mean, do we have the ability here to swipe a valid credit card and put a hold on that, or how does that work? I don't know.
Oh, yes, well, we can take credit cards, cash, or checks. We don't discriminate against what
Okay.
kind of money that you're
Well,
gonna
if you get a credit
put
card,
in our
it's-
hands.
credit cards, it's there. It's in the
So,
bank.
but we do make sure that that's all taken care of and that it gets reimbursed or the deposit gets returned appropriately.
Let me ask Mr. Brown, do you feel better about the discussion now that we've talked about the deposit acting as a security?
Yes. I'm good with that. I mean.
So is
staff-
300 the number, or is it higher?
I think 300's fair.
Yeah.
So at minimum, then anybody who's coming in to rent the facility for 2 hours would be required to give us cash on hand or hold by credit card would be $450.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've spent a lot of, or the taxpayers have spent a lot of money in making that thing look good, and we, as a body, are responsible to keep it up and make sure it's
Absolutely.
taken care of.
Well, and if you've ever tried to rent trash pouring, this is
Oh my
the
gosh,
deal.
yeah.
I mean, the deposits and the fees there are far greater than what you're talking about.
Yeah.
We don't want to make it prohibitive, but we want to make sure it's nice, like you
Yeah.
say, that people know that their money's on the line, and we're going to keep it if they don't follow the rules. Okay, so are we now in a place where we want to, with the amendments that you know about,
Yes.
are we in a place now where we want to approve this policy? Or move it?
This is an ordinance. So
This is
this
an
would
ordinance.
have to go to first reading if you approve it as is.
Okay, is there consensus?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, there's a consensus, we can move ahead.
We will put that on to public hearing for next month's agenda. And then the next is just an application. Please understand that applications, these are handled administratively. I just wanted to get the general consensus that, one, we know that some of the rules need to be beefed up, changed a little bit, and then also the deposit's going to change, but, and since these have been put into your packets, I've worked with staff to actually make 2 separate applications, one for government agencies as well as civic and nonprofits, and then the other one for private rentals. But does everything else look like council wanted it
Yes.
to look?
Mhm.
Perfect, okay.
Yes,
Look nice.
it was a great first stab.
Good deal.
Okay.
And so depending on the next conversation, this with those changes will be put into place.
Okay. Item C, opening the beach.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes. We do have some things. We are waiting on a generator that should be brought in hopefully next week. However, there is a national shortages of generators. And then we are waiting for the install of our new fence to properly secure the beach, and that we're looking for FDOT to finish the culvert and pouring the sidewalk. But with that being said, we do have several that are biting at the bits to go ahead and play at the playground and enjoy our new pavilion under the new rental agreement. So I don't have a date certain on when this would be open because there's a lot of moving parts, but I would ask that council would please give me the consensus that as soon as we are capable of opening it, that I can unlock those gates and allow the public to come in and enjoy the Geneva jungle and our lake, and then start moving forward with pavilion rentals, with the exception of alcohol, as that will not be able to be there until at least May.
I would suggest that maybe we have a soft opening and let Mr. Cornegay's group in there a day early just to kind of christen the place.
The event on the 11th is really as a partnership between the city and the county to allow them to come in and tour the facility, and then city organizations to come in and see the facility, as I know that many have not yet. That is in no way the intent of opening that, because we still have a couple of moving parts. I was hoping that the generator and fence would be able to be installed by then, but apparently those who make generators they're very behind right now.
Well, I would request that Mr. Cornegay be allowed, and his group be allowed to go in. I don't know if they have to bring their own chairs or what, but I'd love to see it open that way. And their group is now affiliated with the city, so I think it's very consistent that we allow that to happen.
Does that need to be a motion, or is that?
Yeah, I'll make that
Is that what
motion.
you're doing?
I'll make that motion.
Does can it be consensus?
I just need direction from council, I believe,
I don't see
to
a
allow
problem
that.
with it.
We're directing you to host them.
So, and then, like I said, I don't have a date certain on when all of these projects would be completed. However, I'm hoping that within the next couple of weeks that they will be. We're very hopeful that within the next 2-3 weeks that they will be. But I would like to be able to open the doors to the beach just as soon as we possibly can, if council's okay with.
Definitely.
Yes.
Okay. Item D, council contingency policy. Vice Mayor Hart?
Yeah, I'll take the lead on that. It got back to me, I don't know how, but at one committee meeting, that there was a question of, okay, somebody gets some educational materials, should those educational materials be turned over to the city? That led me to thinking, well, do we really have a policy on the contingency? I've been on the council for 7 years, and I've never seen one. It's just been sort of a loosey-goosey type thing where somebody wants to go somewhere and it's tied into what they're supposed to be doing, they get a check. So I took the lead and I drafted a potential policy statement that you have in your materials. Essentially what it does is it defines what can be paid for, pretty generous, how the council person and the mayor are reimbursed, separate accounting. I'd like to go back to the old system where we break this out by person. I think it's good transparency for the public, and it would be helpful to me to know where I stand as far as my contingency fund. And then if there's a maximum reimbursement and whoever goes over that amount, they can still come to the council and ask for more. And then finally, in-service education, I think it'd be a good idea. If someone goes to a seminar or gets some materials, take the opportunity to kind of give just a little thumbnail sketch as to what they learned. I've given some thought as to whether or not do we want to turn materials over to the city, and it occurred to me that becomes a public record, and then we have to worry about storage and how long do we keep it and that sort of thing. So if we're going to have an exchange of materials, I think council can just do it on the side. And I brought two things here, if anybody really wants them. One is Sunshine Law Public Records. I think it was a 7-hour course, pretty much in detail. And the other one is the 43rd Annual Local Government Law in Florida. I'm sure you probably work on this. And you pick up tidbits in there from things like this. So anybody who wants these, I'll give them to them at the end of the thing. So that's my thought. I just thought we would codify it. The amount of reimbursement, I set that to what the government employees get for meals and travel and so on. So it seems to be pretty generous. I'm just trying to figure out who's on first and who's on second.
I have a couple questions. Ms. Rakowski, we went to a bulk budgets holding spot for that money for a particular reason. Why did staff recommend that we go to the?
We went to the bulk holding spot because we were running, I don't want to say running into issues, but there were circumstances to where one council member would go to, for example, the Florida League.
Well, that was me when I first came on.
Well, no, not just, it didn't just happen
No, it's
now.
something that's happened over the years,
This has been
years
over
and years.
time, to where there would be one or two council members who were very active, and then a couple council members who were not. And so we weren't spending the 1,000 or 500 or whatever was allotted across the board out of one line item for one individual, but then we had others that were more active. And so I asked council if they would consider moving to a bulk. That way, if we had someone who was not active, did not go to any of the league dinners or any other things, took advantage maybe of online training versus someone who would travel, that it would all come out of the same pot as opposed to being over in one and then there'd be nothing in another. That was the recommendation when we did the budget.
And so, do you have a preference one way or another, how you record that money?
Not particularly. At the time, I thought that it would be easier it would make sense for it all to come out of one pot, as we do have some that are very active and some that are not so much, and it doesn't change with council, the face of council. There's always one or two that stay here and then some that go out, so there's.
Well, the way I view it is if someone doesn't spend their full $1,000, that's just money that inures back to the taxpayers rather than, in other words, I think we need to have some guidelines as to how much to spend per person, but with the flexibility to go over that if there's an unusual situation. So I prefer the segregation approach.
I kind of like the idea of asking staff to go out and and do a survey of like cities our size and get a sense of what their policy include and their amounts they give to their, for in-service training or professional development. What are other cities our size doing for council members? Because I know that there are some cities, and I have been one of those council members who are active and have gone to trainings and try to keep myself abreast of all the information. And when I go to those conferences and those seminars, what I see is, by and large, lots of council members do their per diems much differently than we're doing. We turn in receipts. Other cities will give their per diem up front so that council member doesn't have to spend their own money, and they can spend the taxpayer money, and then reconcile it with the manager when they get back. It could be an inconvenience for someone on council to ask them to up front pay the bill and then wait until their money comes back. So I'd like to see what best practices other cities use, and if you can find 4 or 5 cities and just kind of do a cost compare what they do, that would be awesome.
Is there specific information that you're looking to acquire that I can put this into a sheet? That way it's an easy snapshot and you're not reading 4 or 5 different policies? I would say with whether the per diem is before or after an event. I would think the amount of per diem for professional development. What else would you like to track, Mr. Hart?
Just a little bit better record keeping, and then the educational function of bringing the materials back and having a 5-minute in-service to the public at the end. Can we all agree that at least at a minimum a policy should be in place?
Sure.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
Because right now it's awfully loosey-goosey, and I'm not really sure. And I've been around for a couple of minutes as to how it's supposed to work.
Right, so I think we should do it a little bit more in depth and compare ourselves to whoever else is doing it. All right, is that all you had for that, Mr. Hart?
That's it, and there's nothing in there that's gospel, though I do really would like to see the breakout per person. It'll help me know where I'm at.
Mr. Brown, do you have any council comments this evening?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Peoples, I hope you have a few words you're going to share with us.
I had a couple of issues. Number one is I would like to see a future council possibly install or think about installing a weather station here at City Hall. As lovely as the airport is and as wonderful as the weather is out there, it does not really represent what happens here in town. And I think maybe if we have our own weather station on top of the City Hall or wherever we decide to put it in town, it would be more representative of the weather that we're occurring right now. That way, the city manager could sit in the office and have, instant at her fingertips as to what's going on inside the city. That's one thing. Number two is that since I have previously been on the Planning and Zoning Commission, I will go ahead after my term here, and I will go ahead and reapply for the Planning and Zoning Commission. So.
Ms. Kelly?
No, I have nothing.
Mr. Hart?
Back on the planning and zoning, do people have to be residents to be, okay?
Yes.
I have nothing further.
Okay. I do want to mention a few groups I've worked with this month. I thought we had a lovely freezing time at our pickleball dedication. It was cold.
Record cold.
Record cold. I didn't want to say anything. It's kind of like, let's just cut this ribbon and then embarrass ourselves, right? And play pickleball.
Then we played for 20 minutes out there.
Embarrassed ourselves.
Big time. We had a great meeting at the Keystone Safety Net Alliance. The subject was a housing update. I don't know if you saw in the paper where an individual bought an 8-room motel over in Stark and is renovating it for the purpose of being transitional housing for people. And so we had an opportunity to hear about that project. I think it's an important project. Our folks at Answers are going to be able to use that facility in terms of rehousing people in transition. So that was fantastic. And then we discussed transportation issues, which for our area is huge. I don't know if you know this, Mr. Hart, but you were on a grant application that was submitted to Clay Electric for the Roundup program from the Friends of Keystone Heights High School. We applied for a $15,000 grant to pay for band equipment for the band. And that will help our underserved population in town at least have access to those instruments so they can participate in the program.
Since that's a different body, we wouldn't have a sunshine problem. Can we talk about that?
Sure.
I'd just like to be brought up to date.
Okay, so we asked the band director to come up with a list of instruments that he could use and store at the school, so that if there was someone who could not afford to use or buy an instrument or rent an instrument of any kind, that he would have access to that instrument. And so he did. He actually came out at like $14,999 and like maybe a few cents. It was perfect. So
That'll buy one baritone saxophone. Seriously.
So that was essentially the grant application, and so I'm looking forward to seeing what Clay does with that. We had, well, Patricia was here. There was a pet fair that was hosted at Hatch Realty. It was sponsored by Twisted Oak Pet Rescue, and it was very wet that day. Commissioner Condon and I, we were troopers. We were hung in there for the pets of the world, and we hung out for a little while. We did, I think each of us met with the Lake Region Development Corporation about city projects that we're interested in them ranking and taking on for our area. I met the vet and the volunteers at the mobile spay and neuter that was sponsored by Twisted Oaks Pet Rescue, and it was at the feed store. Help me with the name. Lisa's Feed Store. And so it was real well worth it. She spayed and neutered probably 10 or 15 animals, and so really happy with what she's doing in town. And that was February.
I thought of something.
Excellent, go for it. We'll-
I just want to give an attaboy to our city manager, and I cannot remember the night it was, but the last time we had a bad storm come through, we had some trees down, and one was right there by Mr. Brandon's old house there on the Grove and 21, and an attaboy out to Station 11 Fire Department here in Clay County for coming out and cutting the tree off the road and getting it off the road. So we have a good relationship with our county and all those guys there at the Station 11.
Excellent. Ms. Rakowski, your turn.
I just wanted to remind everybody that our next Florida League of Cities dinner is going to be March 18th. It is held at Green Cove Springs. We do ask that you RSVP for this early, as space is limited, always limited, but going to be more limited now that social distancing is in place. So if you plan on attending, I need to know so I can get that in. Our next council meeting will be held April 5th, and then we will be having the election April 13th. And we have completed our paving project for the time being. We're just waiting. We've got temporary striping down. We have to wait 30 days for that to cure, and then we will come back with our permanent striping. So our paving project for 2021 will be complete. And then we'll talk more about upcoming projects at the next council meeting.
Okay. Mr. Commando.
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing additional.
Okay. Anyone in the audience?
May I mention with respect to Councilman Peoples' request about a weather station? We had, and I just sent a text to Maria, I think it was someone through Clay County that had approached the airport about installing a different type of weather monitoring system there. We had some conflicts because we didn't want there to be a conflict with what we have that goes out for FAA and other airports all over the world. So I've asked Maria to get the name of that company or representative to Lynn, and perhaps we can make that happen. In fact, we had suggested that they relocate that to somewhere closer to downtown Keystone rather than at the airport. So we'll follow up with that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, anything else come before us before we close?
No, ma'am.
All right.
All right.
7:40.